Guys, I know The Mandalorian's out and everyone's excited about that, but let's not forget that The Bad Batch is still running and it's still airing on Wednesdays. This is one of the reasons why I would never invest in Disney as a company. In this massive streaming war that's going on, it seems like Disney's one of the least efficient content creators out there. They constantly make stuff that competes with its own shows. It's kind of infuriating. Now, Bob Iger is back and he's promising to right the ship. And I think it's going to come at the expense of content. Not only is he going to cut staff, I think they're going to cut the budget for all new content by billions of dollars, which really isn't great. But I guess they want to kind of pursue the Warner Brother HBO style kind of streaming format. Sure, the DC universe has always lagged behind Marvel, but HBO constantly releases just one or two amazing shows a year that everyone seems to watch. And that is because the quality of these shows are undeniably good. They definitely paid a lot of attention to every aspect of shows like Game of Thrones or The Last of Us. I mean, the fact that Game of Thrones was a fantasy show and still got mass appeal was simply unheard of within that genre. And The Last of Us is doing similarly amazing things despite being a zombie TV show. The only reason I haven't watched it yet is because, I'm still waiting to play the game. I don't have a PlayStation, I got a PC. Watching Disney release mediocre shows like Kenobi, Book of Boba Fett, and then completely mess up the release of an amazing show like Andor by not spending enough money advertising it definitely was heartbreaking for a Star Wars fan like me. To me, Andor was almost like HBO level quality. It was a show that transcended the Star Wars fandom. I think it's something that you don't have to be a Star Wars fan to enjoy. You just have to be someone who enjoys good storytelling and good filmmaking. And I kind of want to see more of that out of Disney, and maybe that's the route they're going to take. Now that I think about it, it'd be kind of nice if Disney had one or two really high-quality Star Wars shows like Andor and Mandalorian a year instead of a bunch of mediocre ones. No matter what, it won't be interesting to see how things play out. But anyway, a side effect of Disney making too many shows at this point in order to compete against all these other streaming services is that the third season of Mandalorian is completely overshadowing what I thought was a pretty excellent episode of The Bad Batch. Titled Metamorphosis, this episode was classic Dave Filoni. First, Dave Filoni loves playing homage to other films and TV shows. His animated TV shows are full of these moments, like in the Clone Wars episode Bounty Hunters, in which a group of mercenaries decided to take a low-paying job to protect a bunch of farmers from pirates. It's a story about honor and duty, and it shows us a more noble side of these soldiers of fortune. The episode is dedicated to Akira Kurosawa, one of George Lucas's favorite directors. The Japanese director is responsible for the film Hidden Fortress, which the original Star Wars film borrows from quite heavily. The Clone Wars Bounty Hunters episode's plot is taken directly from another Kurosawa film called Seven Samurai, which also involves a group of warriors defending a town of innocents from a large bandit army. Anyway, Metamorphosis right away gave me alien vibes. The derelict ship, the monsters hanging in the rafters chasing down the lone survivor of some cursed journey, the low-key psychopathic doctors and researchers who are interested in turning this monster into a bioweapon of some sort instead of just killing it. It's really nice seeing Dave Filoni play around in the sci-fi horror genre, which makes me think Disney, we need to do a live-action Death Trooper thing, immediately. The second thing which happens here that is classic Dave Filoni is the fact that the monster we see here is the Zillo Beast, and it was first introduced to us during the Clone Wars series. Filoni loves bringing back his old storylines and characters, and he loves rewarding those who have been watching his content for the last decade or so. The man is a true fan of Star Wars, and he's terrific at fan service, and The Bad Batch and The Mandalorian are no exception. So what is the Zillo Beast? Well, it's an ancient semi-sentient reptilian creature that hails from the planet of Malastre. It could grow to massive size, like skyscraper size, relatively quickly by consuming electric energy. It's actually terrifying how quickly these things can grow. We're talking about something the size of a, tiger to basically Godzilla size within minutes of consuming enough electricity, which makes it incredibly dangerous, especially if, it starts breeding and letting eggs, fall out all over the place. Zillo Beasts can be identified by their long limbs, third arm, and spike-covered tail. Although juvenile variants of the Zillo Beast did lack the third arm, they could be identified by their rows of sharp teeth, hunger for electricity, and lack of eyes. The name Zillo is clearly homage to Godzilla, and the Clone Wars episodes that introduced to us the Zillo Beast kind of mirror the storyline of most Kaiju films that have Godzilla in it, so that's kind of cool. This is another classic Dave Filoni move. Now, the native population of Doug and Gran on Malastre hated the Zillo beasts.
They are supposed to be extinct. Apparently, they're not.
For the longest time, these massive creatures basically ruled the planet. They would wander the surface of the planet, devouring entire cities and population centers, and this would obviously prevent the growth of Malastre into a more modern and advanced planet. The Zillo beast was especially difficult to kill or subdue. It was covered in scale armor that could deter even the toughest blaster rounds and explosives. It was only until the Doug began harvesting a special type of fuel from the core of their planet that they began retaking control of their world. You see, the Dougs found out that Malastrian fuel was toxic to the Zillo beasts and could be even weaponized into a gas that could take them out pretty quickly. And that's exactly what happened. The heroic Doug hunted the Zillo beasts to extinction, and so finally you could have progress and civilization develop on their planet. And so despite what your environmental science teacher has told you in school, sometimes extracting a toxic green fuel from the core of the planet to kill a gigantic living creature is the best course of action. Anyway, in 21 BBY, during the Battle of Malastre, the Republic used a massive electroproton bomb. This thing is basically used to create an EMP that can take out an entire droid army. I actually have no idea why the Republic didn't use this weapon more. It seems really effective against machine life, which is basically all they're fighting. I guess in their defense, the Jedi are probably afraid of this weapon because the first time they used it, it actually awoke in an ancient sleeping Zillo beast. The Dougs are naturally very angry at the Jedi for doing this, even though they're the ones who requested them to use this weapon. But yeah, they want this thing immediately killed. There clearly is some generational trauma from the Zillo beast within Doug and Malastrian culture. I mean, judging by how quickly the Zillo beast grew in size in the Bad Batch after just consuming a bit of energy, I can imagine how terrified the Doug would be if this Zillo beast actually got loose and, I don't know, start feeding on one of the many cities that dotted the surface of the planet. The Jedi are hesitant, as usual, to kill what they see as an innocent life form.
It's the principle. Allowing the Dougs to kill it violates what we stand for as Jedi.
This is why the Jedi are problematic, okay? Especially individuals like Mace. He was just so dogmatic when it came to ideology. He would oftentimes lean on his principles instead of taking the time to fully understand the situation. I mean, it's very easy to fall into this trap. It's just, honestly, intellectual laziness. Instead of coming up with your own interpretation of events on how you should handle things, a lot of people just rely on religious organizations, political organizations, even sports teams to kind of do the thinking for them. And I guess that's what's happening here, because clearly what Mace Windu tries to do here is not logical. The Doug were fighting for the survival of their people on their planet. I mean, they even had prophecies claiming that one
would return someday and destroy our entire civilization.
And Mace Windu, instead of understanding this real fear and need to survive that the Dougs have, tries to stop them.
I said order them to stop. Or what? We are innocent life forms too, are we not?
The Doug have a point here, and Mace, they just can't see it. Plus, the Doug are already furious at the Jedi, who they blame for the awakening of the Zillo beast, and now Mace is pulling his lightsaber on Doug officials like he's some hothead. This situation almost leads to a breakdown in the fuel treaty between the Republic and Malastre, which is honestly the only reason why the Jedi are here in the first place.
This creature is of no importance to us. We cannot be alienating the Dougs at this crucial time.
But the Doug aren't stupid, and so they state that until the Zillo beast is defeated, no one will sign their fuel treaty, and without that fuel, the Republic military will be stalled. Luckily, logic and the Republic's insatiable demand of fuel went out, and the combined forces of the Republic and Malastre try to use a combination of stun tanks and Malastrian fuel to varying effect before finally knocking the Zillo beast out. But instead of dumping the Zillo beast into a star or a black hole where it can never bother anyone again or procreate, Palpatine wants this thing to be transported to Coruscant. Considering the monster's ability to regenerate while soaking up energy, the Jedi are very concerned that this is a dumb move. Which it is. I think Coruscant has more power plants than any planet in the galaxy, probably. Once the beast arrives on Coruscant, Palpatine suggests that Imperial scientists kill the animal so that it's easier to remove its scales for examination. The organic properties of the Zillo beast armor needed to be studied for possible military applications. Having a light but strong armor like this could save a lot of clone lives. The Zillo Beast, however, takes this personally and is able to sense that Palpatine wants to kill it. This is why people believe that the Zillo Beast is semi-sentient. When the Empire tries to poison the Zillo Beast to death, it breaks free of its confines and goes after Palpatine. Thus begins a Kaiju city-destroying sequence in the heart of Coruscant. Never thought I'd be able to say something like that, but I'm happy that that happened. A massive battle ensues and the Kaiju is ultimately killed. It's at this point Palpatine orders the Beast to be cloned, which leads us to this episode of The Bad Batch, where we see the results of that cloning program. It's really cool seeing the Zillo Beast cloned and returned, but that brings up one important question. What is the Empire going to do with this technology?
None of our weapons could harm it.
Even my lightsaber couldn't cut it.
If we could somehow duplicate that for our ships...
An impenetrable armor.
I mean, the Sith have always been interested in lightsaber-resistant material, whether it's Mandalorian Beskar or cortosis, which could short-circuit a lightsaber. Let me know in the comment section below what you guys think. Also, don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification button down below so you don't miss out on the rest of our awesome content. As usual, my name is Alan, reminding you that my allegiance is to the Republic, to democracy.